In this episode, we're going to take AI risk out of the technical corner and place it where it belongs in a real organization, which is inside the same risk conversations that guide budget, strategy, and accountability. Many new learners picture risk reporting as a formal document that only executives see, but risk reporting is really a decision tool that helps leaders choose what to do and what not to do. If AI risks are reported in a separate language or a separate process, leaders may misunderstand them, ignore them, or overreact to them. When AI risks are connected to enterprise risk reporting, they become visible alongside other risks the organization already manages, like financial risk, legal risk, operational risk, and reputation risk. That visibility is how you get consistent decisions, consistent resourcing, and consistent expectations, even when AI systems change fast. Enterprise risk management, ERM, is the coordinated approach an organization uses to identify, assess, prioritize, and treat risk across the business. After the first mention, we will refer to this as ERM. The key idea for beginners is that ERM exists because risks do not stay inside one department, and leaders need a unified view to make smart trade-offs. If one team talks about risks only in technical terms, and another team talks about risks only in financial terms, they will struggle to prioritize together. ERM creates a shared framework so that different kinds of risks can be compared and managed consistently. Connecting AI risks to ERM means translating what could go wrong in AI systems into the same categories, severity scales, and reporting rhythms that leaders already use. This is not about hiding the technical details. It is about making the implications clear so decisions can be made confidently. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A good way to understand the connection is to ask what leaders actually decide, because risk reporting is only useful when it supports real decisions. Leaders decide where to invest money and time, which projects to approve, which vendors to trust, which capabilities to deploy broadly, and which changes are too risky without more safeguards. They also decide when to pause or restrict a system after a warning sign appears, and they decide how transparent the organization must be with partners, regulators, and customers. AI risks influence all of these decisions because AI often sits in the middle of sensitive data flows and user trust. When AI risks are not presented in a decision-friendly way, leaders may approve high-risk systems without understanding the consequences, or they may block low-risk opportunities because they lack confidence. The goal is to make AI risk reporting practical enough that it improves decisions instead of merely documenting concerns. Connecting AI risks to enterprise reporting starts with a clear description of the business context, because risk without context is just anxiety. The same technical issue can be minor in one context and severe in another, depending on what the AI system does and what it touches. An AI model that drafts internal meeting notes has a different risk profile than an AI model that influences customer eligibility decisions or medical guidance. An AI system with access to regulated data has a different risk profile than one that uses only public information. The business context includes who uses the system, what business function it supports, what outcomes depend on it, and what happens if it is wrong or unavailable. When you connect AI risks to ERM, you consistently tie each risk to a business process and a potential impact so leaders can see what is truly at stake. This approach reduces both overreaction and underreaction by grounding the discussion. Once context is clear, the next step is categorizing AI risks in the same language the enterprise uses, because categories are how leaders scan and compare. Many organizations already group risks into buckets like operational risk, compliance risk, financial risk, technology risk, and reputation risk. AI risks fit into these buckets naturally, even when the underlying cause is technical. A data leakage risk becomes a compliance and reputation risk, as well as a technology risk. A model integrity issue that produces wrong decisions becomes an operational and financial risk, as well as a technology risk. A vendor outage that halts an AI-enabled process becomes an operational risk, and can also become a customer experience risk. The value of categorization is that it helps leaders recognize that AI is not a separate universe. It is another driver of familiar enterprise risks. When reporting matches the enterprise categories, AI risk stops being mysterious and becomes manageable. It is also essential to express AI risk in terms of likelihood and impact, because that is the common decision scale across most ERM programs. Likelihood can be informed by evidence, such as how often policy violations occur, how frequently misuse attempts are detected, how often drift has been observed, and how exposed the system is to external users or untrusted inputs. Impact can be described in terms leaders recognize, such as potential harm to individuals, legal exposure, financial loss, disruption to critical services, or loss of customer trust. For AI systems, impact can grow quickly with scale, meaning a single weakness can affect many users if the system is widely used. The point is not to invent precise numbers when you do not have them, but to provide a consistent rating with clear reasoning. When leaders see consistent likelihood and impact framing, they can compare AI risks to other risks and decide what deserves urgent attention. A common beginner mistake is thinking risk reporting must be purely quantitative, but many important risks are best reported with a blend of measured indicators and clear narrative reasoning. Measured indicators might include how many AI systems are in production, how many have access to sensitive data, how often risky prompts are blocked, and how quickly suspicious behavior is detected and contained. Narrative reasoning explains why those numbers matter, such as what kinds of harm they could lead to and what assumptions exist. This combination is powerful because it balances credibility and clarity. Numbers without meaning feel like noise, and stories without evidence feel like opinion. AI risk reporting should aim for disciplined statements that connect the two, such as explaining that a rising trend in sensitive data detection in prompts increases the likelihood of exposure unless controls and training are improved. This style keeps reports accurate and decision-focused. To connect AI risks to decision-making, risk reporting should also include risk ownership, because risks without owners tend to linger. Ownership means someone is accountable for tracking the risk, coordinating controls, and reporting progress. In many organizations, risk ownership is assigned to a business leader who owns the function and a technical owner who manages the system, with security providing guidance and oversight. For AI systems, ownership must be explicit because responsibilities can be scattered across model teams, data teams, application teams, and vendor management teams. If a report states that a risk is high but does not state who owns it, leaders cannot drive action and the risk becomes background noise. Ownership also matters because it ties risk decisions to authority, such as who can approve a change, who can pause a feature, and who can accept residual risk. When ownership is clear, leaders can ask the right follow-up questions and hold progress to a standard. Risk reporting becomes far more useful when it connects risks to control plans and milestones, because leaders need to know not only what is wrong, but what is being done. A control plan describes what safeguards are in place now, what is missing, and what actions will reduce risk over time. For AI, a control plan might include tightening access to sensitive data sources, improving monitoring and alerting for misuse, adding stronger policy enforcement on prompts and outputs, improving change control for model updates, and implementing safer degraded modes for vendor outages. The report should not drown in implementation detail, but it should be specific enough to show that the organization has a path to improvement. Milestones help leaders track whether progress is real, such as dates for completing coverage of key AI assets, improving detection time, or reducing repeated policy violations. This connection turns risk reporting into a management tool rather than a status report that ends in worry. It is also important to show interdependencies, because enterprise decision makers often allocate resources across competing priorities and need to see where risks reinforce each other. AI risk might depend on identity controls, data governance, vendor management, and incident response maturity, which are themselves enterprise-wide capabilities. If an AI system is risky because the organization lacks strong asset visibility or lacks effective monitoring, that is not only an AI issue, it is an enterprise capability issue. Reporting that highlights these dependencies helps leaders understand that investing in foundational controls can reduce many risks at once. For example, Improving identity governance can reduce misuse risk, data exposure risk, and change control risk simultaneously. This is why connecting AI risks to ERM is so powerful. It reveals shared root causes and encourages investments that create broad resilience. Beginners should see that the best enterprise decisions often fix classes of problems rather than chasing one incident at a time. Another key connection is aligning AI risks with risk appetite, which is the organization's stance on how much uncertainty it will accept in different areas. Risk appetite is not a single number, and it often varies depending on whether the system is customer-facing, whether the data is regulated, and whether the outcomes affect safety or fairness. In practice, this means some AI use cases may be approved quickly because their impact is limited, while other use cases require strict safeguards or may be rejected if the residual risk is too high. When AI risk reporting includes clear statements about how a risk compares to appetite, leaders can make decisions without reinventing criteria each time. It also prevents inconsistent behavior where one team is blocked for a risk level that another team quietly accepts. A consistent appetite discussion supports business opportunity because it gives teams predictable boundaries. Predictable boundaries reduce friction and make safe innovation easier. Timing and cadence matter as well, because risk reporting is not a one-time event and decisions need fresh information. AI systems change, usage expands, and vendors evolve, so risk reporting must be updated at a rhythm that matches the pace of change. That rhythm may include regular reporting cycles for steady-state risks and faster updates for emerging concerns or incidents. Monitoring signals should feed into reporting so that leaders can see whether risk is stable, improving, or worsening. For example, if misuse attempts are rising or drift indicators are increasing, that should trigger reassessment and possibly escalation in the risk register. Beginners should understand that a stale risk report is almost worse than no report because it creates false confidence. By connecting AI monitoring to enterprise reporting, you create an early warning system that influences decisions before problems become crises. A mature connection to enterprise decision-making also includes clear escalation thresholds, because leaders need to know when a risk is no longer manageable at the current level. Escalation thresholds might relate to confirmed sensitive data exposure, repeated safety control failures, persistent vendor outages affecting critical services, or evidence of unauthorized access to AI systems. The point is not to involve executives in every minor alert, but to ensure that when a risk crosses a meaningful line, the right authority and resources are engaged quickly. Clear thresholds protect both the organization and the response teams because they reduce hesitation and reduce argument in the moment. In AI systems, where public trust and regulatory scrutiny can be intense, escalation discipline is especially valuable. When executives see risks presented with clear thresholds and consistent reasoning, they can act faster and with more confidence. That confidence supports opportunity because teams are less likely to freeze or overcorrect after uncertainty. Finally, connecting AI risks to enterprise reporting should include a learning loop, because the point is not only to describe risks but to improve how the organization manages them. After incidents or near misses, the enterprise risk view should be updated with what was learned, such as whether certain controls were weaker than expected or whether certain dependencies were more critical than assumed. This learning loop helps recalibrate likelihood and impact ratings based on real experience instead of wishful thinking. It also helps leaders see which investments actually reduced risk and which investments created only superficial comfort. Over time, the organization's risk reports become more accurate, and decision-making becomes faster because leaders trust the reporting process. For beginners, this is a powerful insight. Risk reporting is a living memory that helps an organization learn. When AI risks are integrated into that memory, AI adoption becomes more sustainable. As we close, connecting AI risks to enterprise risk reporting and decision-making means translating AI concerns into the categories, scales, and rhythms leaders already use to run the business. ERM provides the shared framework, and AI risk reporting becomes useful when it is grounded in business context, expressed in consistent likelihood and impact terms, assigned clear ownership, and paired with control plans and milestones. Showing dependencies helps leaders invest in foundational capabilities that reduce many risks at once, while aligning with risk appetite supports innovation within predictable boundaries. Regular cadence, monitoring-driven updates, and clear escalation thresholds keep reporting current and actionable. When done well, this connection does not turn security into bureaucracy. It turns security into better choices that protect trust while enabling opportunity. That is the heart of Domain 2, risk managed as a decision discipline, not as a fear response.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.